Welcome to the first ever Behind the Scenes with Bourbon, where we're just going to talk about some of the stuff going on around here, what it's like to be in Congress. And of course, because it's the first, I am so thrilled to be joined by Congressman Joe Neguse, a true star in the Democratic Party, congressman from Colorado, who's become a friend and mentor of mine. Joe, thanks for agreeing to do this with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Morgan.
Yes.
Great to be here.
So, this is Behind the Scenes with Bourbon. So, let's talk about a little bit what it's just like to be in Congress. Tell me, you got here in 2018, part of that big class. What's been kind of one of your surprises about what it's actually like to be a member of Congress?
Well, a couple of things. First, it's just been a tumultuous few years, right? So that's an understatement of the century. 2018, we were sworn in during the longest government shutdown in the history of the country. 2020, we were sworn in, and 3 days later, you had the attack on our Capitol. And then, of course, as you know, 2022 now, sworn in during the longest speaker vote since the 1820s, I think. So a set of very unprecedented circumstances occurring over the course of the last 4-5 years in Congress. It's an interesting time to serve. It's an important time to serve. And we're glad to have you, one of our newest members. We're grateful to the people of Kentucky for sending you and for educating us about the illustrious bourbons that exist in your state and the Commonwealth.
I think it's one of the things that's cool about being up here is the different districts and the different perspectives. So, in Kentucky, we're known for bourbon. 95% of the world's bourbon made in Kentucky. When I think Colorado,
95%.
95% of the world's bourbon made in Kentucky. We're the only federally regulated spirit.
Wow.
And so you have to be made in America to be a bourbon, and most of it's made in Kentucky.
Which doesn't apply to other.
Doesn't apply. It's like champagne, right?
Wow.
You can only be a certain region of France to be a champagne. Well, I think of Colorado. I'll tell you, I think of beer.
Microbrews. Right?
Yeah.
So we have, I think this is still true, the second highest number of microbrews in the United States in my congressional district.
Wow.
So Fort Collins, a lot of folks who are watching, I'm sure, familiar with New Belgium and some of the more popular brands that we have in our district.
You've got a lot. So who's number one?
I don't know who number one is today. In the past, it vacillates, right, every year.
But I find that more believable. I always think that's more believable. Don't say you're number one in something. Right? If you say you're number two or number three in something, it's totally.
Oh, you mean the congressional district? That's right. Well, yeah, that's
right?
true.
It's totally. In my district for a long time, it's closed down now. We had someplace that called itself the number one Asian buffet. We all knew it wasn't number one, right? But if it said it was the third best, it probably might be true.
Yeah, we so claim we're fine with claiming second.
Second, you claim second,
and certainly Colorado is number one when it comes to
Colorado.
It can't compete.
You think about Colorado,
microbrews, skiing.
Yes. Are you a skier?
I am a skier. Yeah. How about you? Cool. You're a skier.
Yeah, I like to ski. Yeah, and in fact,
where'd you learn to ski? Because there's no skiing in Kentucky, or is there?
There is skiing in Kentucky. Well,
wow.
This is like telling a Colorado guy they're skiing in Kentucky.
Exactly. Describe the skiing to me.
Yeah, right. So, Louisville is right there on the Ohio River across from Indiana.
Uh-huh.
Just north of us in Indiana, there's a place called Paoli Peaks. Now, you park at the top of the mountain, which is a little different. A mountain.
Yeah. It's not 14,000 feet.
No. It's a bunch of people in
I think we're going to have to come up with a different name for the sport that you all are engaging in.
The most common phrase you hear at Paoli is, I can't stop. But that's where you learn how to ski. And we also have a place in Kentucky called Perfect North, which you do park at the bottom there. But it's not, it's.
That's got to be the only skiing in, that part of the country.
It's not much. And then West Virginia is not a terrible drive from us for snowshoes, so kind of learned in those areas. But at the end of the day, when you go out to Colorado, it's just, it's incredible.
It's beautiful.
It's incredible.
Best skiing in the world.
Yeah, my wife and I got engaged actually at the top of Copper Mountain in your district.
That's right. And what some folks don't, well, certainly your viewers would know, is that my wife and I got married in Copper Mountain. So the many myriad of connections between the McGarveys and the Neguses, very, very strong.
We just mentioned spouses.
Yes.
Both of us have young kids. You have one.
Yeah, 4.5, and then one on the way.
Yeah, which is amazing.
You've got three.
Yes.
Twins.
Amazing. Yeah, twins who are in the 5th grade. Then we've got a 4-year-old. 4.5-year-old.
That's right, 4.5-year-olds.
Yeah,
same age as our daughter.
I think they're like a week apart.
That's right, I remember.
We're July 3rd.
During the campaign. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Tell me, let's talk about what that's like. Well, because we all talk about, everybody sees what it's like being up here, especially when you've got young kids. For you, do you have a direct flight?
We have a direct flight from Colorado to Washington, which is great. It makes it a lot easier. I don't know, does Louisville have?
We have a direct flight.
Yeah. It's tough, right? It's a sacrifice. Certainly a sacrifice that that I make, but really a much bigger sacrifice that my wife, who's incredible, makes, and it's tough not being able to, you're gone. I think one of the parts that they don't necessarily tell you when you're running for Congress, but you find out, of course, and I suppose I should have known this, and maybe it's self-evident, is that you're going to spend half the time, on a plane back and forth between your district, your state, and Washington, D.C., where, of course, the people's businesses awaits us. And so, yeah, it's, on a plane, hopping up every week, being away from your family, being away from your children is tough. But it's a privilege also, right? And you remind yourself that you're doing it for the right reasons, and that one day you'll be able to explain that to your children. I don't know, I'm sure your fifth graders, the 4.5-year-old Natalie doesn't necessarily fully understand kind of the work that I'm doing in Washington, but I imagine your fifth graders have to, right? They get that.
They're starting to, right? Like it's interesting because I served in the state Senate for 10 years before coming here. And the way I describe it is, you gave me great advice. I tell people all the time, I got great advice. Joe's the one who gave me great advice. You win election on Tuesday, and then people don't tell you that Sunday morning at 9 a.m. you're in orientation.
Totally.
And you're the one who said, if your wife can come, make sure she comes with you that first week orientation. I mean, you were adamant about it. Best advice I've gotten since coming here. Chris came up that first week. It's actually the longest we've ever been away from the kids.
Wow.
So they're kind of going, hey, we didn't know we'd lose both of you if we won this thing. And then we went to the gift shop last year because it's the longest day we've been away from the kids. We got the 4-year-old little stuffed bear in the gift shop, and we got the twins, just like a navy blue t-shirt that had the house symbol right there on the left breast. And I gave it to them, and they were completely unexcited. Didn't care, never wore them. Oh, thanks, Dad. We got a t-shirt.
They will one day.
Didn't care at all. Well, then they came up here for the swearing in, and they actually saw the nation's capital.
They were great on the floor.
There, they came to the floor. Those shirts are worn all the time. They're in the laundry every time there's dirty clothes, right? So I think to your point, I think they do get it a little bit. Yeah. But when we first got elected, they didn't see the difference between the Kentucky State Capitol and the United States Capitol.
That's right.
Right, and so my 4-year-old actually calls this place the White Castle, which is what she calls the Capitol. She's like, the White Castle. It kind of the White Castle, right?
Yeah, see, Natalie doesn't. She knows the White House. We take her to the White House.
Oh, that's cool.
Family picnic, the summer picnic. So she knows the White House. She knows that Joe Biden lives there. She knows, Dad's going to Washington to work with Joe Biden. That's kind of the general. Sort of
Does she call him Joe Biden?
Oh yeah.
That's what my
full name.
Yeah, full name. It's never president. It's never. It's just Joe Biden. Joe Biden. My Greta will ask me, Dad, did you talk to Joe Biden today? No.
Exactly.
And then she's let down. I'm like, no, I did some cool stuff. We did some cool stuff. Right.
Now, what we should tell the viewers here is about the cloakroom.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a part, of the experience in Congress that most folks aren't aware of, that your kids got to experience, that fully enjoy, including bucket loads of candy.
Right, and they called it the cloaking room because, of course, we have weird names for things up here. Like we have to use these words. I feel like we call it the Democratic and Republican Caucus.
That's
why, right? I don't know why.
Totally.
It's just we all get together. But the cloakroom is an area right off the floor, and it's in an L shape.
That's right.
It's in an L shape. It's narrow, but it's in an L shape. Right. And there's a little snack bar back there.
It's kind of snack bar. There's old school phone booth rooms.
Yeah.
Right? They're kind of, I don't think there are phones in them now, but they're kind of, they're those old school phone booths.
And they're kind of soundproof.
And they're soundproof, yeah. Right. Where members are, on the phone, talking to constituents during votes, right? I mean, essentially an opportunity for people to be able to have something to eat or make a phone call in between a vote.
There still are phones there, though.
Are there still
phones? The reason I know this is because when the kids were here, like you said, Joe, we had this massive, wildly speaker vote, and the kids were around a lot. And so I would take them into the phone booth, and I would dial my cell phone number, close the door for my 4-year-old, so she could talk to me on the phone. Right? Which is just the thrill. But I'm standing 7 feet away, looking at her through glass. But she's talking to me on the phone. They still do have a phone.
Well, Morgan's kids are like the most well-behaved children who participated.
Two of them are.
Two of them were.
We succeeded on two.
During the speaker's vote. And in the cloakroom, there's they hide it, but a big bowl of candy that is preserved for any children of members or guests, visitors that might be coming, that your kids got to enjoy a little bit of.
Oh, they did.
How are you enjoying it so far?
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. I think that's it's the being away from family. I think the pace we keep up here, most people probably don't get to see or appreciate. I've got a barber back home. I get my hair cut. I don't wash it. I don't do anything fancy. I go get my hair cut in a chair, right?
Yeah.
And I had to schedule that last week. Guys, I really need like 15 minutes when I'm home to get a haircut. You know, I mean, like this is like the pace we keep.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's such a cool thing. Like you said, it's such an honor. And I see it. I'm sure you see it. The possibility of this place.
Totally.
You know, we're coming off such a productive Congress. I've seen it in the state legislature when government works, how it can really help people. And to do that on a massive national scale here is so cool.
It's pretty incredible. Hey, it's interesting. I'm glad you got elected in 2022 because I think it's harder, you know, for the folks who got elected in 2020. The Capitol is a much slower place for the last couple of years. You know, the pandemic, obviously after the attack on the Capitol, and the energy level was just in a different place than it is today. Today resembles far more what it looked like when I was sworn in the Congress back in 2018, and it's a better adjustment to go, because you're right, like the speed, the volume of committee hearings. You know, you've got 3 committees at the same time. You got to make it to the floor for votes. You've got constituents that you want to make sure you get to visit with, who are, you know, visiting, traveling into Washington from Kentucky or from Colorado. So it's a lot. It's a lot. But Morgan is settling in well. I think, and you've already drawn the respect of so many of your colleagues. So.
But I think people do get along here,
yeah,
for the most part.
Totally.
You know,
a couple of exceptions.
I would say
we'll talk about that.
435 people. You're not going to like everybody, but you know, most of the people who really get along.
Yeah. People are always shocked when I say that. And I'm back at home. You know, folks will ask, you know, is it as partisan as it seems, and you know, kind of all the rest. A lot of friends who are on the other side of the aisle, who are close friends, who I work with on different things. Again, there's some others who obviously shall not be named, who we maybe don't interact with as much. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, but for the most part, I think generally speaking, most people who come here, you know, they're here because they want to make a difference. They're trying to move the ball forward to solve some of the challenges that we face, and keeping perspective on that is important.
So one thing we do here too, we love music in this office.
All right.
So I've got one final question for you.
Oh man, it's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough.
Okay.
What's the first concert you went to, and the last concert you went to? No, this is.
Boy, what a tough question.
I know.
There's no way I can identify first the
Really?
very first. Yeah,
really?
I mean, a number of concerts that I went to. The last concert, it's been a while. It's been like pre-Congress. I mean, as you know, it's scheduled.
Yeah.
So I actually represent Red Rocks. You been to Red Rocks?
I've been to Red Rocks. I mean, it's a cathedral for music.
That's in my district.
I would go see anyone at Red Rocks.
It's incredible. So they do not just concerts, but you can also do film on the rocks. So during the summer, they'll show movies.
Cool.
Go see Jurassic Park. For those who haven't been to Red Rocks who are watching, it's incredible. It's the most incredible musical venue in the world, in my view, certainly in the country.
Yeah.
Just beautiful rock formation. You know, you're at 10,000 feet. It's pretty incredible.
See Denver out over the skyline.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you're high enough up, it is.
That's right. So my wife got me tickets, and I'm just trying to remember there were 2 different concerts I went to. One was Michael Franti.
Oh yeah.
So that was, and I can't remember if that was the last or if the other one was Dave Chappelle and John Mayer.
Wow.
So there was, those were but that would have been the last. It would have been a couple of years ago. It's like 6 years ago, 5 years ago. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to feel terrible if you're like, oh, my last concert was 4 months ago.
No, I can't. That's my campaign.
Twins,
twins,
4.5-year-old, running for Congress, Senate Minority Leader,
keeping my day job.
All right, I just want to make sure I don't feel cool anymore. That it's been a little while since I've been to
my first concert was with my parents. So my very first concert was with my parents. We had a AAA baseball team.
Okay, so now I'm gonna. All right, I'll think back because sure. As a kid, I was thinking more of like as an adult.
Well, okay, that's too quick because my very first concert was when the Beach Boys played after the AAA baseball team game, the Louisville Redbirds. We had the Cardinals Farm Club at the time at the old Cardinal Stadium. My first concert I chose to go to. I saw Smashing Pumpkins on the Siamese Dream tour.
Okay.
At a general admission show.
All right. See, that's.
My last concert was in Louisville, and it was in 2022. I think, 2022. Went and saw Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. Which love those guys.
See, that's still pretty recent though.
Yeah.
That's last year.
It is last year.
I don't know. I'm gonna go back through my schedule now. It's like, hang my head in shame that I've been to a concert in 5 years. I think I've gone, but it's probably been through like the congressional stuff. There's concerts here, or not concerts, but musical, perform. Although I miss those too. They've got some here.
It's hard to get. It's hard to get the time. You have any party? Because I appreciate it. You've done the first one, and I'm grateful.
I'm just excited to be a part of it.
This
was great.
This
was great.
You've been, like I said, a friend and a
This is the
mentor.
coolest podcast appearance I've ever done.
Oh.
It's also the first I've ever done.
Well, that's it.
I think on like any podcast. So this is a very.
It's my first one too. Well, tell others they can come on.
I'm definitely going to tell them. I know the key is to start small, and now eventually you have like the minority leader here. You get the big folks.
I went big on the.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for being on.
Thank you.
You.
Cheers.
If you've watched this long, thank you. And hi, Mom. So thank you guys.
This was great.
Truly
Is it a podcast or a film cast? It's a video. Yeah, okay. You call it a podcast. It's a video.
Well, I keep calling it a podcast until I came and saw a light. I told you what I knew. I was just wrong.
All right, it's good. Good.